Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing fine in the run up to the holidays, not too overworked. And if I don't see you before, wishing you season's greetings from the UK. So, today I want to talk about Venus combust the Sun in Sagittarius and squaring Saturn in Pisces. It's one of these transits that can bring up really honest themes around relationship, money, self-worth and boundaries. I'm going to start with the astrology, keep it practical, and then I'll do a separate section on the tarot archetypes that match these planets. So you can, if you want to, you can deepen the work with another symbolic layer. Sometimes it's easier to have the images in your mind to make sense of what's going on. And at the end, I'll lightly set the tone for the Capricorn Cazimi time. It's a corridor of time that we'll cover next, and it's what Venus really is preparing for here in her square to Saturn. So, combust. What is Venus combust the Sun? She hasn't gone, but she's not visible in the sky. The sun is shining its light so brightly, she's so near to it that she can't actually be seen in the sky. And symbolically, it means her signal can be harder to read clearly. The Venus themes can feel more intense, more personal, and not always easy to interpret calmly. It can feel like you're close to something you want, but you're still getting clarity, a little bit fuzzy, clarity on what it costs, what it requires, and whether it's truly right for you. So if you've been reassessing what you want, what you need, what you're willing to give, or whether it's sustainable, then this fits the symbolism. And Venus in Sagittarius is looking for truth and meaning. That combination of Venus and Sagittarius, it wants choices and relationships that align with values. Prefers honesty over guessing games and tends to ask big questions like, does this expand my life? Does this feel aligned? Does this have integrity? Those sorts of questions. But with Venus combust, those Sagittarian instincts, and remember, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, those instincts can run hot. You might notice things like in yourself or other people wanting reassurance, or certainly more than usual, overgiving or over explaining, romanticizing a situation just because you want it to be true. Here we can really overlook a partner's bad behavior or truths about lack of care. We can romanticize that so that we don't have to deal with it. We can also end up pulling away because it feels safer than being seen. That's the combust. That's the symbolism. You don't need to force a conclusion about any of those things while Venus is combust. Sometimes it's enough to observe what's coming up and let the situation, let it show what you genuinely value. So it's a good idea just to stay open here and to be more of the witness, the observer, than making those hard decisions right now. Now, this square to Saturn, I'm just going to get the chart up and show you. This square to Saturn here, there's Venus in Sagittarius, and there's Saturn in Pisces. There's a square 90 degrees apart. Saturn's at 25, and we've got Neptune there that's going to bring somewhat of a fog as well there. Okay, so that's the chart of this transit. Let's get you back. Okay, now the square to Saturn is where things get real. Saturn is boundaries, time, its consequences, responsibility, reality. Saturn is basically asking what is sustainable, what is defined, what has clear terms. With Saturn in Pisces, the lesson often shows up in areas that are emotionally porous or unclear. So vague agreements, mixed signals, emotional labor, that sense of you're emotionally drained and it isn't being named, but you feel the heaviness of it. Situations where empathy is high, but clarity is low. That feeling deeply, but being unsure why. Or you've been hoping something will become what you need without actually having the structure to support that. That can happen too. Excuse me. The square aspect is pressure that creates movement. So it's not all bad, yeah, it's pressure, but it creates that movement. It pushes us towards a decision point where you can either keep leaking energy or you can create a healthier container. So it's highlighting those pressure points. So Venus square Saturn can sort of feel like, I want closeness, that's the Venus, but I need protection. I want to give, but I can't keep doing it all at my own expense. That can be that Jupiterian generosity that is draining you. I want beauty and ease, but I need to plan what actually works. If you've been asked to set boundaries, clarify expectations, or take yourself more seriously, this is exactly that type of transit that brings that forward movement. So that pressure is going to make you want to move. And as I say, Neptune is also square Venus in Pisces. Venus is in the superior square both to Saturn and Neptune, and she's sort of applying to Neptune. And that can it can all it can add the essence of fog, confusion, or idealization, that having unrealistic expectation ideal. So Saturn can then in this position become the reality test. What's true, what's consistent, what's workable. So I'm going to move on to the tarot archetypes because these are really interesting. They make a beautifully interesting combination. With the tarot and the tarot archetypes here, it's one of those transits that becomes much more easy to work with when you've got those images to hold in your mind. So here we have Venus, and she is signified by the Empress. So the Empress is about nourishment, creativity, pleasure, receptivity, abundance, and self-worth. So very similar significations to Venus. But she's also something quieter and much more grounded. She's what you consistently tend. That's the archetype. What are you consistently tending? She's what you feed. She's the part of you that knows, and we've all got that part, knows how to grow life. In alchemy, the Empress connects to the principle of salt. Salt is the element of form, cohesion, the vessel, the body, really. It preserves, it holds things together. And it's sometimes described as an inactive principle. And that's not because it's lifeless, but because it's stabilizing. It's the container that allows life to take shape. But the important part of this correlation with salt is salt needs sulfur. And sulfur actually is the emperor. Now go figure. So salt needs sulfur, the energizing principle, to stay alive. Without that warmth and the fire, without life force moving through it, the container can become stagnant. I should go more into this when we have the Cazimi. Mars and Venus are traveling very closely at the moment, and Mars rules Aries, and Aries is a significator of Aries. So, yeah, we will have a look at that. So, that's the energizing principle, the sulfur to stay alive. I think that's what I would say. Without warmth, without fire, without life force moving through it, the container gets stagnant. Um, so the Empress teaches us that nourishment needs energy, care needs vitality, and pleasure needs presence. We need to be there to enjoy that pleasure. And then we have Saturn. And here he is, signified by the World card, tarot card. The world is Earth, it's completion, it's integration, completion as in it's the pinnacle of creation. It's integration, maturity, and the finishing of a cycle. It's the end of the tarot pack. So Saturn isn't here to take away joy. Saturn is here to make something real enough to last. Saturn is what gives your life structure. So your values don't remain just a mood or just in your head or an ideal. They become lived truth. And if we widen the lens to what's called the great work, the co-creation in alchemy, the Fool represents the beginning. He's the first card, the seed of all potentiality. He's zero. Okay, so he's zero on the tarot cards. So he hasn't expressed yet. So he's got potential for countless children, countless creations, but it's not yet expressed as a pregnancy. That's how I look at the Fool. He's there ready. So he's a bit like the sperm and the egg. They're there, full of potential, but they haven't got together yet. So that's the Fool. So he's often expressed as the negative issuing into manifestation. That 0 point is what I'm talking about. The leap, the open door, the first step into the unknown. The world represents completion, manifestation fulfilled, purpose accomplished, ready to return, ready to begin again. So it's a cycle, the Fool to the world, the journey to the world, and then the world back to the Fool. It's a full cycle. So if you want to hold Venus square Saturn through tarot, it's very simple. The Empress is saying, what do I value? What am I growing? And the world, as Saturn, says, what are the terms? What's sustainable? What does that completion look like? So this is the heart of it. Love and beauty is needing a container. Our desires need a structure, or they're just imaginal. And boundaries can be an act of devotion. It's not rejection. If we value our part in co-creation, there sometimes needs to be a boundary put in place to protect our creativity. So journal prompts. What can we do with this? Here are some questions that you can or cannot reflect on. It's up to you if you want to work with this transit. And as I say, it's leading up to the Capricorn corridor with the Cazimi there, which is, it is a very unusual. I know we're always saying it, astrologists, but it is a very unusual and very potent transit. And I see it as amazing alchemy. Okay, right. Let me not go off on that one. So the journal prompts, or just things simply to reflect on, choose one of them and just take your time to contemplate it and reflect on it. Where am I accepting vagueness when I actually need clarity? What boundary would help me relax and not harden? Where am I overgiving to try to secure love, approval, or safety? What does sustainable love look like for me right now? What does sustainable finances or money look like for me? If I trusted my worth, what would I stop tolerating? And if you want one simple 2-sentence practice, you can write down, my devotion is, my limit is. The Empress, my devotion is what you're nourishing. What are you devoted to nourishing? My limit is the world, which is the container, what's protecting your energy. So my limit is. And then if you want to be really practical about it, put it into practice, embody that, just choose one small action over the next 24 hours and implement it. This is why Venus square Saturn is really important right now. It's doing values clarification. It's showing what needs structure, what needs boundaries, what needs to be simplified, and also showing what you're no longer willing to carry. Remember, We spoke about it in the new moon. It's the last decan of Sagittarius, and it's the Ten of Wands. It's burden, what you're no longer willing to carry. There is a blog up on my website, nip along there. It goes really into detail about the Ten of Wands and how you can work with that archetype. So, what are you willing to carry? Then in the early January, we move into that Capricorn corridor where the Sun, Venus, and Mars travel conjunct together by degree over several days. That's where we can take what's been clarified here and translate it into something practical, a decision, a commitment, a change that we can actually follow through on. And I'll be bringing that in the next astrology forecast. So for now, just keep it gentle. You've got the holidays. We don't want to be doing anything radical during the holidays unless you actually want to. Keep it gentle. Just choose what is sustainable for you now and let that guide your next steps. And if you're not fully sure yet, that's okay. Combust Venus often needs a little time before truth feels simple. Okay, I hope that was helpful for you. As I say, I've got blog over on my website, www.soulsymbols.co.uk. Go have a look at them. We've got the new moon, we've got Venus square Saturn, a blog on that, and we have a pretty in-depth archetype of the 10 of Wands. Plus, we do have the Empress and the World blogs there to have a look at. So whatever you're interested in, go have a little look if you want to. And enjoy your wonderful holiday period. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.